Good evening, I'm Ted Koppel, and this is Nightline. For months, Soviet Armenians by the tens of thousands have been staging unprecedented and sometimes violent protests in their quest to reunify the Armenian people in one republic.
It's a true test of Mikhail Gorbachev's policy of reform. It's a true test for him.
That's our focus tonight.
This is ABC News Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
We are, perhaps more often than we would like to admit, the captives of what various governments and administrations, including our own, want us to show you. For some reason, when Mikhail Gorbachev strolls across Red Square with his guest Ronald Reagan, we and our cameras are powerless to resist. When Nancy Reagan is towed at something approaching breakneck speed, like a cultural water skier, through the Hermitage Museum in Leningrad, we feel obliged to record and report the event. There are, of course, developments infinitely more important, but beyond our view, that we, therefore, find much more difficult to report. For the past week, tens of thousands of people have been demonstrating in Soviet Armenia. Dissidents claim that up to 300,000 people have taken part over the last week. Soviet officials give a much lower estimate, but even they concede daily demonstrations of about 15,000 people. We can't show you what is happening, but we can try to explain why it is happening.
An Armenian is not just defined by a homeland, because we're just spread all over the world. We're all united by the fact that we accept a common heritage. And of course, that heritage is rooted in Armenia itself. You know, people are territorial. Armenia is a very ancient Christian country. At the beginning of the 4th century, Christianity became the state religion of Armenia. They have adhered to this faith, being really on the dividing line between East and West.
What happened to the Armenians in 1915 is that they became victims of the first genocide of the 20th century, planned and carried out by the Ittihadist government of Turkey, wartime government. They used as an excuse the fact that the Armenians were on the frontier with Russia, and the war was going on between the Ottoman Empire and the Russian Empire, and the Armenians were in the way. It was a planned genocidal activity that started. By the time it was finished, 1.5 million people were dead, and the entire historic Armenian lands, where Armenians have lived for 3,000 years, was left totally barren, no Armenians there.
Those that did survive fled all over the world, some of them located in Marseille in France and in Europe. Many went to the Middle East, many went to South America. Thousands of them came here to the United States. The comparison between Armenians here and Armenians in the Soviet Union, I mean, you have a free society here, you have a communistic society over there.
But now, with Glasnost, people are beginning to exercise their rights, which have always been there in the Constitution, but never implied. The first to implement that Constitution was the Soviet of Karabakh, the Assembly of Karabakh. Karabakh is situated southeast of Armenia, sort of east-southeast, let's say. It has always been the fortress of Armenian independence.
The Karabakh issue has more or less recently erupted. Right after World War I, there was an independent Armenian Republic, and it survived for approximately 2 years. but then the government collapsed. Part of the lands were given to Turkey, and part of the lands were given to the Soviet government. The Republic of Armenia is one of 15 republics in the Soviet Union. And unfortunately, what happened was that the region of Karabakh was given over to Azerbaijan. Now, I say unfortunately because 80% or more of the population of Karabakh are Armenians, whereas in Azerbaijan, they are Shiite Muslims.
And so Armenians in an area that is predominantly Armenian feel as if they're treated as second-class citizens. And they would rather be a part of the Armenian Republic, which is located right next door to them.
What's interesting is the way this thing has happened. It began in Karabakh. The people who were involved, the people who are sort of fed up living the way they're living, came out first and hit the streets and said, we want to be reunited.
They made a decision, almost unanimous, in Karabakh, that they have decided to join the Armenian Republic rather than the Azeri Republic. And the result of this, which should be interpreted as the implementation of Glasnost, caused riots, murders, and rampage.
People simply identified as Armenians and killed. They've acknowledged that they've arrested over 100 Azeris already for complicity in these massacres. In February, the demonstrations in Yerevan in Armenia began. Hundreds of thousands of people demonstrated. In fact, the demonstrations had begun in Karabakh, in Stepanakert and other cities in Karabakh. And then it was picked up, and the people in Yerevan expressed their solidarity with the people in Karabakh. The largest, most massive, most extended demonstrations in the history of the Soviet Union are being staged by the smallest republic, by the people of the smallest republic in the Soviet Union.
It's a true test of Mikhail Gorbachev's policy of reform. It's a true test for him. The one danger of what's been happening now in Azerbaijan is the fact that maybe the timing was wrong for the Armenians to demonstrate. If we could have only waited until Gorbachev was able to more firmly establish his control in the Communist Party. I think if you talk to Armenians, deep down what they are wishing for is that someday there will be a free, independent Armenian state. That's what every Armenian hopes.
The struggle is a struggle for identity, the preservation of an identity, a culture. The people feel as Armenian and as attached to their history and the future as they ever were. This is a fantastic, source of pride for us.
When we come back, we'll talk with historian and author Vartan Grigoryan, one of this country's most prominent Armenian Americans, and to David Chikviadze, an attaché at the Soviet Embassy here in Washington.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by AT&T,